All right, good morning, good morning. Well, whatever time it is for you, this is Rob Mazak, psychic medium, and this is Thursday, the 23rd of February. And I wanted to take a moment to share something that was really spectacular that happened over the last few days. And, I'm into some very interesting methods and practices in the metaphysical world that are just so amazing and so useful and so inspiring that it's hard to put words on it sometimes. And there's those times though that something that I am part of and involved in just really is incredible. I don't know any other way to say it. And so, what I wanted to talk about was using a distance method of communicating with people, and not necessarily like we communicate with someone in person, where we speak, it lands on their ears, or we call them, or we text them, or we email them. I'm not talking about that. That, of course, that is communicating by distance when you're using technology. However, I'm talking about the ability to communicate telepathically, if you will. I guess it's the best way to describe it, across any distance and any time really, or any planet. But in this case, we're going to talk about communicating with somebody from where I'm at in Texas to where somebody is at in Florida. And, it seems like a really long distance, but I mean, if you study quantum science and quantum mechanics and all those things, you'll discover that instantaneous communication between molecules or elements from one end of the universe to the other can be very instantaneous. And so, obviously, that's not my area of expertise, but I definitely practice it. And so, you guys might remember something that was going around on TikTok, and I can't remember the name of it or the method name because I searched for it just before I started this podcast. And I really couldn't find it, but it was something to do with a method of telling somebody you love them, presenting them with a kiss from a distance, just simply by imagining yourself in front of them, telling them how you feel, and then softly giving them a kiss. I can't remember. If somebody could maybe reply or respond, that'd be great because I couldn't find it. But when I looked at that, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's something I've been able to do for a very long time. And so when I was younger, I was able to telepathically communicate things without really knowing exactly what I was doing. I knew that I was able to affect situations and things from afar without having to have those difficult conversations, perhaps, or whatever I wanted to share with somebody that was hard to do, able to do that from a distance. And so one example was I remember being a young Marine, and I say young Marine because I'm an old fart now, and we had some of my Marine Corps buddies and I went to a college town, and apparently the college there was primarily women, and so we're of course unmarried young Marines, that's like a a bug to a light kind of thing, right? But anyway, we got into this bar, and I was, for some reason, I had this wild idea that I was going to try this out, practice this, because I felt like I was able to do it. But I guess I hadn't really had any validation. So I remember, kind of settling into this club or wherever it was we're at. And I saw this really good looking gal up at the bar, sitting at the bar. And of course she had guys with her or around her, as you might imagine. And so I said, this is my time to practice. And so I remember doing whatever I do, right? And and sending over, those sweet nothing messages that you might, most of us guys are not brave enough to just walk up and say, right? And so I was kind of doing this across distance, across the bar, smoky bar, loud music, lots of people, drinking, all that stuff. And I thought, well, this is cool, experiment, but I wonder if it works. And then she turned and looked at me, and I thought, well, that's odd. Maybe it is working. But the uncomfortable part came from the fact that I really feel like she got the message very strongly, because she would not take her eyes off of me almost the whole night. And I was like, man, that guy she's with really big. I'm a little scrawny Marine here. Not that I don't have buddies, but I was like, I didn't know what to do with it. And so it really scared me in a lot of ways, because I guess I was delving into something without any mentorship. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I think I better stow this for a while. So for a long time, I didn't use this technique. And probably not till I was going through my self-development phase, later in life, did I really use it. And anyway, I've gotten really good at it. It's been the ability to sit down in meditation, if you will. For me, it doesn't even have to be deep meditation, just really finding that space to connect and finding myself, or my presence, my consciousness, whatever you want to say. It's hard to describe what I do, but anyway, it's like standing in front of, face to face with a person that you want to communicate with, and kind of the way I imagine, I ask the higher consciousness of this person to kind of lift up and out, and so I can communicate with that part of the person that's not necessarily conscious or aware that we're having this conversation. It's not because I'm trying to insert bad things, but the thing is, we all have those hard conversations that we really want to have with people, and sometimes it's very difficult with human emotions and all the things that are happening, and it sometimes it just doesn't work well. It doesn't come out right. And, I find this to be a really, really good way of actually having those tough conversations with someone, and they become aware of that conversation at a much deeper level. Because let's just face it, our conscious mind, which is only maybe 5 to 10% of our mind, our brain, however you want to look at it, it tends to get in the way. It's like that little barking chihuahua. It's like, rah, 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 I'm in charge. What, the only thing it's really in charge of is getting us through our conscious day. Our subconscious really runs everything. Anyway, and so I've had a lot of good success with trying to communicate, or I should say not trying, but communicating with some people, and to help improve situations. I've never done this to afflict or cause problems or issues with somebody, because that's, I think that's a total misuse and abuse of the gift. So I think that's why I've been able to keep it, because I don't really, my goal is not to cause problems or send darkness or whatever you want to say, right? Anyway, so I've talked to many of my clients about it, and so many of them are aware of the stories I have, like the one I just shared, and some of the other things I've done, and I've encouraged others to also do the same. And so I find it interesting that much of what I've been able to do across distance has been validated for me, which is really helpful. I mean, it's one thing to be able to move your consciousness across and have a conversation with somebody, but it's a totally different thing when you actually get some type of validation that your conversation was received in some way, shape, or form, right? The person may not even be consciously aware of it, but that's okay. The point is to really get some good out of the situation, right? And so anyway, I have a particular client that is aware that I can do this, and everybody can do it. And I'm not saying I'm special by any means. It's just something that takes a little effort, to work on, and telepathy to me is absolutely natural, right? And we all do it in one way, shape, or form, whether we do it on purpose or not. But anyway, I got this text from a client of mine. She's been with me for, gosh, I don't know, I want to say 8 months or something, 7-8 months. I met her at a different place where I was working. Anyway, we've been doing a lot of things together, and so she texted me out of the blue, and without wanting to take advantage of me, she said, I might have to read some of this because it's hard to summarize some of these things, right? And so what she said initially was, I know you can tap into others' higher selves and communicate. My dad is in the hospital and he's not doing good. They can't figure out what exactly is causing him to go down so fast. I was wondering if you might be able to help or something. He is convinced it's a demonic attack of some kind, but I don't necessarily believe that. I don't feel that when I did Reiki on him yesterday. And so this particular gal is very, very highly intuitive, very good energy worker, and she gets a lot of really good information. And so I understand wanting to validate and verify what you get, because when I have something really big and life-threatening like this, I like to compare or grab another intuitive person and see what they're getting. And so she basically continued on and said that he had a fall, a couple days back from this time, and had some internal bleeding. They had to remove his spleen. And he was doing really good until a certain point, and now he's just like, for some reason, was digressing, in health. I guess his labs were all off and all kind of things, and so anyway, so I'm like, I'm always willing to help. Not everything is about business. Sometimes it's just, especially when you're talking about life and death kind of things. You worry about that kind of stuff some other time, right? And so I'll go ahead and read what I initially sent back to her, because what I did basically is I sat down. I want to say it's maybe no more than 10 minutes. Just closed the door to my office. Sat there and connected with someone I had never met before. I've never met her father, and it'd be interesting to find a picture of him to see what he actually looks like. But anyway, I connected with his energy, and so had a conversation for a little bit. And so this was my original response. So what I initially picked up is some kind of black spot on his right upper chest. Perhaps an infection. It's kind of what it feels like. So removing his spleen speaks very loudly that he has been holding on to too much energy that he does not need to hold on to. He has been communicating to me, right, that he has found himself overloaded energetically, and with the flood of information streaming in from the spirit world and the world itself. He was starting to appear to me to be very glitchy, like his soul is seriously deciding between this world and the next. So at that point I began to encourage him, right, that he still has a mission here, and that it would be very selfish on his part to leave this reality. Many people are relying on his support, and I finished up that text with saying there's a, excuse my French, shitstorm of emotions, thoughts, and ideas bouncing around everywhere. So I suggested that she find a quiet space to connect and do the same thing, connect with him. However she does that, we did some, we practiced with some of that a while back. And so in essence, I said he really needs to be calmed down so that his physical body has enough energy to get through this time. You will need to be the peace for him right now. Calm your energy, breathe, connect with him in a calm state. So I further told her that her father and I, we made an agreement. He agreed to stay. He has realized that his balance is off and that this is a strong wake-up call. I reminded him that you need him here to watch as you evolve. I brought you, me, and your father into a circle of healing. And so that's the way I left it. And so I think I might have heard from her 24, 36 hours later, something like that. Right? And I was kind of curious because I just kind of left it at that, and I figured, if things changed dramatically, I would hear, and and so the thing is, when you do these kind of things, you really got to have a lot of trust and faith in what you're receiving, what you're getting, what you're putting out, right? And so I've gotten pretty good at that over the years. I mean, I still waver. I'm human, right? But then she sent me something back that I'm gonna have to read to you, right? And it sent chills up my spine. It was crazy. So she said, the most incredible thing happened yesterday. My stepmom and I sat on either side of him to get into meditation and connect with him. Both of us had a hard time with it, like he was unreachable except for the one feeling of, but it hurt so much. That was what was coming to me. This is her speaking. But we sat back next to each other, and I showed her your last message about your agreement with him. And all of a sudden, this incredible force rushed through her, like a freezing chill moving up her spine and throughout her body. She was violently shaking and started crying and was saying, what is happening to me? As I started to leave her, it came to me, starting in my root, and it moved up through my crown and spread through my body. Bone chilling and emotional, but a powerful feeling of peace washing through us. And even that description of the feeling isn't strong enough. We held hands and it started moving between us less dramatically. She wanted to know who or what this was that gave her this feeling of peace, right? And so, the only thing that I could really come up with, well, not the only thing, but what came to me, what Spirit gave me, is that basically they both got tapped into all there is, all there was, and all there shall be, the ultimate experience of God or the source or whatever that is out there. Everybody has their name for it, right? And so it just, I mean, as I read that, I was lit up like a Christmas tree. It was, it's almost like I could experience what she was describing, and it just gave me the best sense of peace and validation. And I mean, I don't even know how to describe it. Like she was saying, she couldn't describe it, and I couldn't either. But she replied that it was basically what it felt like she had connected with the higher power, the God, whatever you want to call it, right? And she was thanking me, and she says, I really feel like we saved him. All of his labs came back normal today. His swelling is going down, and he's getting color back into him. He made an 180 since yesterday, right? And then she replied later and said, that she was grateful that she was claiming that I saved him, right? We're gonna talk about that in a second, right? I told him about everything that happened that day, and he told me that he did find himself in a place where he was deciding whether to stay or go, that he almost didn't stay. He wanted to express his thanks to me, right? But, the saving was not about me. I only had a role and a place in it to really have a conversation with her father, to allow him to make his own decision. I just wanted to make sure he understood that there are people that need him, and that it would probably be a better time to go later, perhaps, right? And that he just really, it was almost like he was getting pounded with a big spiritual hammer, as I call it, and he needed to really decide whether he wanted to work through this or move on and repeat it later, right? And I'm sure most of us would not want to repeat some of the crazy things. I don't know much about his life. I can't say that I do, but so I replied with, wow, that is very amazing that he remembered the choice we had. It is not my credit, just like with everyone. My role is to provide ideas and alternate ways of seeing things so that they can make their own informed decisions. I just so happen to know how to communicate at a deeper level. All of us can learn this, and my hope is that you will take this plunge. And so he continues to get better, and this is also a very, very wonderful validation for this young lady that I'm speaking of. And because she has been struggling at times with believing in her gifts and how to connect, and that she, we all have those. I mean, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with her. I'm saying, she's at that point where I have been in the past, where it's like, am I really getting these things? Am I really doing these things? Am I really validating what I do? And I think this was the grand experience for her. And you look at these things as if it's only her father being affected by it. But, sometimes things happen because of multiple reasons and multiple things. And so I feel like this is something he needed to have happen to him so he could understand perhaps the power of the metaphysical and the spirits, or whatever you like to call that, this spiritual path that he may not be choosing to go down. I don't really know, like I said, much about his life. I'm just, this is just my sense. And also this is a way to draw this young lady, my client, deeper into her path and give her the validation that she needs. And it's just, it is amazing to see how the circle of life happens. And, in a lot of ways we can't, I don't know, if I look back at my life, and I don't know how, I can't imagine designing this life for all the pieces to fit and everything to fire as it should, when it should, and how it's supposed to happen. It just blows me away. But I'm so happy that I was able to help and to be a part of this equation. And like I said, I'm no superhero. I'm just somebody just like you. Somebody's out there. We can all do these things, right? And so it's just deciding whether that's for you, if you like to do those, right? You want to do those, if it's your calling. It's not, I can't say it's everybody's calling, but I do feel like we're all here to evolve spiritually, right, as a soul. And so that, each concurrent life can be easier, hopefully, and our experiences won't have to be as dramatic, assuming you believe in the reincarnation model, which I do. But I just think that it is a beautiful thing to connect with the spiritual world, spirit guides, God, angels, ascended masters, all the above. It has been the most glorious road I think I've ever been on. And don't get me wrong, I have my doubts. I have my days when I feel like an imposter, because some days just are not as clear as others. But once again, what is clear every day in anybody's life, right? Anyway, I would encourage you guys to, if you're interested in these kind of things, seek out somebody that can teach you, right? Help you get started. And then once you get started, oh my gosh, it's a rabbit hole, guys. And it is beautiful. It's amazing. And when you can help somebody like this, it is all the reward that anybody could possibly need, right? And so, this is beyond money, time, anything, right? It is just awesome. Anyway, I will digress. I just felt like I wanted, this needed to be shared, and I got the permission of this young lady to share it. No names, just circumstances, and so that you guys understand that there's way more to this world than it appears. If you are depending on your five senses to complete everything, then it's almost no different than wearing a burlap bag over your head with 5 little pinholes in it representing each 5 senses. That's how limited our senses are. How much visibility we actually have of everything that is available to us around us. So work on that 6th sense, 7th sense, 8th sense. Boy, that was hard to say. 6th sense and above, right? So anyway, I will move on and say namaste. Stay strong. Live your life. Talk to you soon.